In 2025, nobody saw Liverpool coming.
Liverpool are the champions.
Slot was an unknown Dutchman walking into Anfield. Arne who?
He's a new coach, nobody knows him.
I mean, obviously we didn't know too much about him.
Well, now they know, because he turned the Premier League upside down.
For their people, with their people, and for the 20th time.
Liverpool, in what was supposed to be a transition year, won the whole thing. I guess Slot needed just one phase to do it, unlike Arteta. But here is the thing about shocking the world. You can only do it once. Now, everyone's watching. There are bigger expectations. Getting to the top was hard, but staying there will be even harder.
How'd you go again? Do you think it'll be harder to retain it than winning it this season?
Not harder, but just as hard.
You see, in year one, Slot had the element of surprise. Teams didn't know how his Liverpool would play. They prepared for heavy metal football, but got a remix. The Reds were still as direct as ever, but now had a bigger sense of control in the way they manage games. They caught everyone off guard, but now that's all gone. Opponents have watched their games. The other teams have adapted. They know how shiny Slot's head is. Slot even admitted it himself. His pre-match plans often had to be thrown out the window because teams changed their styles just for Liverpool.
What I've noticed is that most, well, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of my team meetings before the game, I can just throw them away in the bin because so many teams did something different against us than they did the 5, 6, 7 or 8 games before they played against us, especially later onwards in the season.
In the beginning, everything was so fresh, especially after Liverpool spanked Manchester United. That game really got the attention of the footballing world. Not because United were dominated, that's just your average Premier League weekend, but because of the way Slot talked about his tactic.
So we said they're going to press differently, so be prepared for that. So we tried to find out what they were trying to do.
He shared his blueprint for the world to see and exposed every weakness that United and Ten Hag had live on TV.
Last season they were man marking on the midfield and they had a press with the 7-9-11, so with the striker and one of the wingers jumped with him. This season they are more with a 9 and 10 press.
Premier League fans were shocked. Some even thought that he was being too open and that it would cost him. It did not. Then another statement win came in the bald derby, Slot versus Pep. At this point, many felt that Liverpool were still in their honeymoon period. They thought that it was only a matter of time before City came back in their usual way. Well, that match showed that one bald head was shinier than the other. Liverpool destroyed the defending champs and sent a message to the rest of the Premier League.
What Arne Slot is doing with this Liverpool team is nothing short of astounding.
The Arne Slot era was here. They were so dominant that year that the league was wrapped halfway through the season. You had Liverpool players going to Dubai, coming back to play a Premier League game that didn't matter because they were already champions, and then going back to Dubai again. These guys for real had been partying since April. Alisson even said that he was tired of celebrating.
To be honest, I am a little bit tired of partying. 4 weeks in a row, like celebrating.
Winning the Premier League was incredible, but defending it, that's the real test. Everyone is coming for the Kings now. The second factor that Slot has to be aware of is rotations, and it's actually something that he's already discussed.
I, at this moment, believe because we didn't rotate that much, that's also the reason why we won the league. But maybe it's also the reason why we were not at our best Paris Saint-Germain away and the final in the League Cup.
You see, the 2024-2025 season could have been even more magical for Liverpool fans. At one point, they were on their way to a treble, and they ended up falling short not because they weren't good enough, but because they were exhausted. The loss to Newcastle really stung. A cup final, and they didn't look anywhere near as sharp as they had done all season.
They were flat, they lacked energy, and Arne Slot, it's been a big week for him and it's all fell apart.
Then the Champions League defeat to PSG hurt even more, especially because Liverpool gave them their toughest fight on their way to the trophy. Think about it, they were a kick away from knocking out the Parisiens, and now they had to watch on TV while PSG lifted the UCL trophy. And they didn't just win it, they absolutely spanked Inter Milan in the final. Meanwhile, Slot and his team watched that game with the feeling of, hey, that could have been us there. Now, having said that, while they did put in a good fight in the second leg at Anfield, the first leg they were dominated. Alisson was the only reason that the Reds walked away without conceding 5 like Inter did. But those two losses were big lessons.
Most of my time that I think about football, people think that I think about the tactics boards, but that's the opposite of what is true.
Slot realized that he needs to rotate more. He's got to give players some rest, trust his bench. Now, he did do it on many occasions. Gakpo and Diaz often interchanged. Some matches Szoboszlai would be playing as the 10, other matches it would be Curtis Jones. Jones would sometimes even play as one of the central midfielders. Bradley stepped up for Trent on multiple occasions. It's a hard balance. Everybody wants game time. In fact, as Slot has said himself, the lack of rotation was one of the factors that helped them win the league. The players played so much with each other that they were all on the same wavelength. Klopp used to do the same thing. But across a whole season with multiple competitions, this won't always work. Rotations are needed. But then it gets tricky, cause Slot wants quality, but not too much where egos start to get in the way. Slot wants players who accept their roles.
Playing together where everybody accepts his role, so you cannot have 3 Mo Salahs for one position, because then my life is gonna be hell.
He needs balance, depth, not drama. This isn't Manchester United. Now, Liverpool's new signings will help with depth and bring excitement, but they also bring some challenges. Frimpong, Wirtz, big names, big talent, but they're gonna have to adapt to England, to Anfield, to Slot's system. That's gonna take some time. Frimpong has played in England before, though it was only at the City Academy, so he knows about the culture and the country, but it's gonna take him at least a few games to adjust to the Premier League. And that's the first thing that players talk about when they come to England, the speed of the game. Well, considering that Frimpong is rapid, he should hit the ground running. But while he's electric going forward, can he defend in a back four? He has just spent the last few seasons playing as a right wing back in Alonso's 3-back system, which is very different from the 4-2-3-1 that Slot uses. So naturally, it's going to take him a bit of time to adapt, especially since even for the national team, Frimpong plays more forward as a right winger. But Slot and his team will be very aware of that. They would not have signed this guy if they thought he was a defensive liability. He has qualities that you cannot coach. You cannot coach speed, fearlessness, dribbling. You can improve these aspects, but a lot of it is natural. You cannot teach someone to be as fast as Frimpong, to be as direct as him, but you can teach a player defensive positioning and instruct him on when to get forward and when to stay back. All I know is that for the entire year under Slot, Trent wasn't exposed defensively. He had only one really bad game against United, and that was probably because his head was already thinking about the sunny beaches of Madrid. Frimpong won't make those mistakes. He is a player who is buzzing to be at Liverpool, the club his dad supports, a club that he wanted to join ages ago before he went to Man City. Yes, Frimpong almost joined the Reds when he was very young, but at that time his family did not have access to a car, so he went to City because they were closer.
But I chose Liverpool first, and I was gonna sign for them, but back then driving wasn't a thing, you know, like my family weren't driving like that, and it was far.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously Man City was local, so then I tried Man City next.
So you combine a player who is shaking with excitement to be at the club with one of the best man managers out there, and you guys don't think they will figure it out? Come on. While Frimpong replaces Jude Bellingham's boyfriend, Slot also got a new left back. Kerkez won't need that much time to adapt, as he has already spent the last few seasons dominating the Premier League. He's another young, hungry, super athletic player. Slot had actually mentioned throughout the year that he wants the athleticism of his team to increase. Kerkez comes from Bournemouth. He's coming from a system where he didn't see that much of the ball. That's gonna change now. He's gonna get more touches, more opportunities to attack, which is great because he has all the tools to really make an impact. He scored an absolute banger against Newcastle in 2025.
Bournemouth still hungry for more.
Just imagine him overlapping Gakpo in the attacking third. The opponent has to pick their poison. Do you close down Gakpo to avoid the finesse shot but leave Kerkez open, or do you back off to cover the overlap and then risk Gakpo curving it around everyone into the top corner? As good as he is, Slot will still need to find the right balance to get the best out of the Hungarian. Does he want him overlapping, underlapping, or inverting in? I'm sure they're gonna experiment around a little, but out of all the new signings, this guy is the safest when it comes to adapting right away. Now Wirtz is the big one. He has the biggest price tag, biggest hype, biggest name, but also the biggest expectations. He's a magician, but where do you play him? Does he go straight into the number 10 role? Does he play as a winger? Is he a false 9? Slot has to find the right spots for him to shine, because we have seen what this guy can do at Leverkusen. We're talking about a player that can take over a game, make moments of magic out of nothing. Only Salah can do that on a consistent basis on this Liverpool team. But where will the German be at his best? That's the mystery that Slot has to solve, and that's why the Dutch Lex Luthor gets paid the big bucks. Wirtz's arrival will hopefully fix another issue that Slot talked about, which is that he wants to see more goals and assists from his midfield.
In his pressing game, and I think something that we have to work on with him is that he's also even more involved in scoring goals and creating chances for us, because I think last season he scored 3, if I remember correctly. And for an attacking midfielder at Liverpool, then his numbers needs to go up.
Soberslot has been great. His work rate and movement without the ball was essential to Liverpool's success.
Because his work rate is unbelievable. He just keeps on running with the highest intensity,
And that is so important for a team that wants to compete for something.
But as an attacking midfielder, you also have to provide output. Maybe with more competition, he can go back to scoring like he was doing in the Bundesliga. If not though, no problem, because Wirtz can provide the goals.
Oh, what a strike! Stunning goal!
Now behind those guys, McAllister and Gravenberch held down the central midfield position like bosses. I mean, Slot transformed Gravenberch into one of the best sixes in the league after another summer where they couldn't sign a holding midfielder. He was fantastic in that position.
I would argue that without Gravenberch, Liverpool might not be top of the league.
And him being so good helped McAllister push forward, which allowed the Argentine to also perform better. Klopp kept using McAllister as a sole 6, which of course he can play, but this guy is an 8. Argentinian Modric, I call him, because he will help you do the dirty work in the middle of the park, but he's also a magician on the ball. You don't want to waste how good this guy is going forward by having him be further back. Now, the lack of depth in this position is a bit concerning though. Curtis Jones was used as a rotational option and Endo came out to close games, but I'm not sure if that's enough for another season. You look at how many competitions there are and you want to be able to rotate without seeing a drop off in quality. So even though Gravenberch has been fantastic, I do think Liverpool should still be on the lookout for a holding midfielder. Liverpool's new signings are great, but there's still a massive question mark when it comes to the striker position. Jota is clinical, but he also consistently gets injured. Slot liked him a lot as he fit better in his system tactically. He could drop deep and play like a false 9, but was also lethal in the box. But as usual, he found himself battling injuries, and as a result, struggled for form. Sure, he would get a goal here and there, but he wasn't showing the quality that you expect from the starting striker of a club as big as Liverpool. I mean, this is a team that had Suarez, Fernando Torres, Roberto Firmino, but now it's been a while since they've had an elite number 9 up front. Nunez was supposed to be that guy. Big money for a player that had sky-high potential. But his journey has been more up and down than Lily Phillips' neck. Nunez is chaos. Sometimes brilliant, sometimes you want to rip your hair out.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe
and that's kind of the last thing that a manager like Slot wants to see. You don't want to have to flip a coin every time your striker is in a 1v1 situation to see if he will score. I think Liverpool fans appreciate the impact that the Uruguayan has had in winning the title in 2025. How can anyone forget how clutch he was against Brentford? But if he doesn't figure it out soon, it's gonna be time to learn Arabic. Maybe with another year under Slot, he can figure it out, and the Dutchman can help get the best out of him, because the quality is still there. You see glimpses of it. As I said before, you cannot coach someone to have Nunez's aggression, his speed, his power. Unfortunately though, those qualities can become useless if the player consistently turns off his brain. He's a good player, but he's gonna have to show more if he wants to continue being the number 9 for a club like Liverpool, because in those big Champions League games, you're only gonna get one chance, and your striker has to bury it. Slot found a spark with Luis Diaz as a striker. It worked. But can he do it again? A left wing up front doesn't seem to be a viable long-term answer. Could Szoboszlai or Wirtz play false 9? That's a theory I've seen floated around, but I'm not sure. Then again, PSG just dominated everyone with a right winger up front who played as a false 9, so anything can work. It's a puzzle that Slot has to solve. Then we have the goalie dilemma, something that I haven't seen many people discuss. Alisson has been world-class for years. Just look at his performance against PSG in the Champions League.
Alisson, you haven't faced many teams this season that have had that many shots at your goal. Was that your best personal performance of the season?
Yeah, probably of my life, I think.
But now enters Mamardashvili, the Georgian giant who has cat-like reflexes. So which of them starts? Alisson has the experience, but Mamardashvili is the future. Before it was relatively easy. Kelleher was a beast and stepped up tremendously throughout the season, but everyone knew that he was the number 2. In fact, that's exactly why he left, because he felt that he could be a number 1 goalie for a different team. And he had every right to believe that because he was really good whenever he was called upon. But Mamardashvili is not going to want to be the number 2. At least I doubt it. So Slot has to decide. Does he trust the guy who just helped them win the Premier League, or is it time to pass on the torch? Now, while Slot figures out who's going to be in between the sticks, he also has to figure out another issue on the other side of the pitch. Mo Salah had another fantastic season, but he's not 25 anymore. As he ages, where do you play him? Do you begin to manage his minutes? Because Liverpool won the league very much relying on this guy. It was Salah and Inshallah. I mean, the guy had the most goals, most assists, most goals plus assists, most big chances created. I can sit here for hours listing the stats that he had, the records he broke. He was by far and away the best player not just on Liverpool, but the entire Premier League. But it's not sustainable to expect him to do it all over again. Can Wirtz take over some of the creative load? His presence will definitely help, not just statistically, but now teams won't be able to throw 2 to 3 defenders at the Egyptian. It seems to me that Salah is going to become more of a creator as he ages, maybe even start playing more centrally. He will get his goals, but now he will continue to regularly get double-digit assists. Wherever he plays or whoever he plays with, Slot has to find a way to keep Mo fresh and effective. Now the center back situation is going to be a problem for Slot. Konate is entering the last year of his contract. You hope that the Frenchman can stay, but you never know in these situations. He might want to go somewhere else for the money or look for a different experience. In the 2025 season, he was a rock at the back, just a complete beast. He was always fast and strong, but we also saw him take a big leap in terms of his on-ball ability. Losing him would be bad. Losing him for free would be even worse. And then you have the captain, Virgil van Dijk. Still elite, but he's getting older. One injury can leave this entire back line exposed. So Slot and the team have to be thinking of a center back option even if Konate stays. Because can Kwanzaa step up for a full season? Is Joe Gomez reliable enough? Because there's no way that Liverpool can play Endo as a center back again, no matter how good he played. If they want to win everything, they're gonna need at least one more center back. And then of course you have the left wing position. 2 talented wingers, 1 starting spot. Who gets it? Diaz brings the energy, pace, and chaos. Meanwhile, Gakpo offers you shooting and a more reliable end product. Slot now has to find the right balance again between starting and rotating these guys without killing any of their confidence. In the 2025 season, they were great. No complaints from either of them, and both performed when they had to. In fact, as I stated earlier, Diaz ended up being used as a striker so that in certain matches both could play together. But it's another area that Slot has to be wary of throughout the season, because this is his team now. A lot of people saw the 2025 title team as Slot building on Klopp's foundation, Klopp's players, his signings, his culture. And the transition was seamless because, as Slot has said time and time before, there are more similarities than differences between his style and Jurgen Klopp's. But now it's becoming Slot's Liverpool, his signings, his identity, his culture. And the expectations have never been higher because now nobody is underestimating him. To see how the Dutch Caillou went from an unknown player in the 2nd division of the Eredivisie to a Premier League champion, you have to check out this documentary I made on him.